this a metal thing?
Yes. Little taste.
David, what is this?
It's pretty thick.
Great.
I have to kill a lot of people. Just tell me what you want me to fuck.
I have big tits and a tiny vagina.
Oil me up, Daddy.
I can't believe that Bryce prefers big tits. Mistletoe alert. This is back country.
This guy was a real jerk.
How long can Hugo be pregnant?
Chomp, 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 chomp.
Oh, you're such a dick, David.
Okay, everybody, put on your corpse handling gloves.
Ew.
Hoodie Picasso.
Horror.
Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk Plus. That's right, folks. We've now transcended genre boundaries and sometimes cover other movies. Once we were closeted and believed that people would only like us if we reviewed horror movies, but now we're out of the closet and getting fucked in the ass by general audience movies too, because not only horror movies can make you wish it would just end. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. Full video available on YouTube. Don't be a square. Make sure to share. Also, check out patreon.com/horrormovietalk, the equivalent of the adult section at your video rental store. What's going on in there? Am I right? Legs going all the way down to the floor. If you want to add your pee to the community pool, go to horrormovietalk.com or call 682-253-4468 and leave us a voicemail. As always, we have Fart Simpson crammed into the production booth. I'm me. Don't jerk me around. And across from me sits the man who I moved a whole state away from, and yet I can still smell his stench. Birthday boy Bryce Hanson. Say hello, Bryce.
Horror.
Hi.
It's your birthday, big man. How you doing?
Well, it was a couple days ago.
It's
Doing well. Yeah, I posted on our Facebook group, and I asked the group to roast me, and that made you very nervous.
Oh yeah. Well, it's
You're like, Bryce, you doing okay? How you holding up, buddy?
people were saying terrible things that you would say in a roast.
Right. The
It
thing
made
that I
me-
asked for.
It made me worried for you.
It was great.
You're irritated at me for even doing it, and I'm sitting here just like caring and being nice. It's so
Right.
crazy.
Right. Well, I was surprised that you were. I think it was like you were either seeing it as, oh, Bryce must just be in the depths of depression and want to wallow in it and let people help him.
Oh, he's
wallow in
looking
it.
for suicide fuel.
Or he's like, I don't think Bryce realizes how much this is going to affect him. I hope he's. Either way, I was like, no, roasts are fun. It's fun to make fun of people that you like.
Well, fuck me for caring. We've got a great show today. We'll be reviewing Dumb and Dumber. We'll start out by giving a brief review and our score for the movie. We score on a scale of 1 to 10. You know how that works. After we give our score, we'll get into spoilers and take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about the film later in this episode. Listen up, folks. We're going to be interviewing Aaron London. That's the writer-director of the new movie available to stream on Amazon called Don't Let Me Stay. So very exciting stuff. Stick around for that. He was a fabulous guest. And,
Yeah, he was fun.
I've been watching Don't Let Me Stay, and it's been, I gotta say, if you're a big fan of Get Out, similar feels. I'm about halfway through, and I'm like, oh, damn. Shit's about to happen. Anyway. Dumb and Dumber is now on HBO Max. The synopsis for it goes a little something like, when a gorgeous redhead, Mary, played by Lauren Holly, leaves her suitcase in the airport, Lloyd, played by Jim Carrey, makes it his mission to return it to her at her destination, Aspen, California. Lloyd manages to talk his roommate and best friend Harry, played by Jeff Daniels, into joining him on the trip because, let's face it, our pets' heads are falling off. Unbeknownst to our duo of dum-dums, the briefcase left by Mary Samsonite was actually a ransom payoff for her husband's safe return from the ominous arms of Nicholas Andre. Notice the pronunciation.
You just spoiled it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I spoiled Dumb and Dumber. As Harry and Lloyd are tailed across the country, an interesting The Man Who Knew Too Much scenario takes place, and everyone gets more stupid than they bargained for. my review for Dumb and Dumber is. And I'm very excited because this is our first non-horror movie review on the actual podcast. We did review Wayne's World last week for the Patreon only, and that is one of my absolute favorites, right up there with Dumb and Dumber. Dumb and Dumber is one of the funniest modern-day movies ever made, and in my opinion, it's one of the best comedies of all time. Peter Farrelly and Bobby Farrelly wrote and directed this, and while they are accomplished and obviously talented, their real lightning in a bottle moment was casting Jeff and Jim. The magic within Dumb and Dumber lies in Jeff and Jim, two grown-ass adult males acting like actual sixth-grade children, keeping straight faces and horsing around in ways that would obviously make every mother in America roll their eyes so hard that their retina's detached. Obviously, Jim Carrey is at his absolute peak in this movie, but Jeff Daniels' comedy chops are absolutely crushing. I can't state that enough. And the pair of them together, fully understanding the magic of this concept of two adults so stupid that it hurts, is what takes the thing into the top echelon of comedy gold for me. The pacing and clear storyline of this movie help to bolster it amongst its competition, because it's hard to get the pacing of a comedy movie right. It is really fucking hard. And this meters it out pretty well. While the last half hour of this is pretty weak by comparison of the rest of the movie, it's pretty slim pickings on comedy movies that end really strong. So, and I would say this has a better ending than most. I really can't think of anything that ends a comedy movie that the ending blows me away. And this is as good as any. It does blow my mind that this is the same Jim Carrey that a little more than a decade later did one of the absolute actual worst movies I've ever seen in my entire whole life, The Number 23. This is just a 10 out of 10. What do you think about Dumb and Dumber, Bryce?
Yeah, I mean, Dumb and Dumber is in contention with the number one best comedy movie of all time for me. Like, I'm kind of hard pressed. Well, especially if it's with the caveat of narrative, like I think the only competition would be like maybe like Borat or the Jackass movies, and I guess Borat is probably narrative, but in terms of like an actual movie, I can't think of anything that I can dependably turn to for laughs, compared to this movie. Like Airplane, it's pretty close, but this movie, and every time I rewatch it, I find something new, like some throwaway line or like little moment that is tucked behind the moment that you remember, where it's like, God damn, even that's funny, it's just astounding how good and how funny it is throughout, because within the first like 5 minutes, there's a good like 6 moments that are super memorable and quotable, like within the first 30 seconds, like Austria, put another shrimp on the barbie. It's like, what? Yeah, so it'll be interesting because it's hard to talk about something that is just on the face just so good and accomplishes so well what it set out to do. But yeah, I mean, I watched it again with my wife, and we were both laughing throughout. And I think the thing that I grow to appreciate more is how well like the container of the storyline is, where that's where a lot of comedy movies go wrong, where it's like the actual movie part of the comedy movie isn't actually interesting. That's where like I think for me Wayne's World loses a point or two, which is like it's just not a super compelling plot. It's like they get picked up by a national chain, their thing, and then there's some conflict, and it's like, okay, some of this feels kind of artificial, or some of this feels like something I don't really care about. But with like Dumb and Dumber, there's actually kind of a lot going on in terms of like intrigue and side characters and like motivations, and all that really holds it together really well. It's kind of a masterclass in how to do things right.
Yeah, it's shocking. I mean,
it's super efficient too. Like that's the other thing that I take away is like it just wastes no time. It like it'll transition between scenes with like just a shot, a reaction shot, and it'll go on to the next thing, and then everything makes sense. Like every setup to each set piece makes sense within the plot, and it does that thing where I think Matt Stone and Trey Parker talk about it, where like the thing you want to avoid when you're writing a story is, and then this happens. It always has to be, this happens, therefore this happens, or this happens, but this happens. So, it has to be, there's like a constant string of like inevitability that goes from the beginning of the movie to the end that feels like it's really driving it towards a conclusion and really captures your attention, versus what a lot of comedy movies do, which is like, we've got a lot of great comedy material. We've got a lot of scenes that are going to be fantastic. We'll string them together somehow. We'll figure it out. And that's like very obvious in a lot of screenplays for a lot of comedy movies. And now that's kind of the case with a lot of like high budget action movies as well, where it's like, okay, we've got a lot of special effects shots. Let's just like wrap a plot around this, like a hastily wrapped birthday present, and get it out there.
I mean, it definitely has a compelling story, but it's not. It also avoids the trap of that as well, right? There's a trap within there of having like a strong story narrative. Like I really dig Wayne's World to as great a degree as this, because I really enjoy the zaniness. Like it's a world that's insane, kind of. It's a little and I mean, I grew up watching bit shows, right? And so I really like, that's kind of how I prefer my comedy, because to me it just kind of it's just how I grew up. Kids in the Hall and SNL and like bits of Groundling things and this and that and Monty Python, sketch shit. And so, but there's the opposite version where you go too far into the Dumb and Dumber territory, where it becomes formulaic. It becomes a Rodney Dangerfield movie, and it's like, don't get me wrong, Rodney Dangerfield, hey, they're great movies, but the story is nothing to write home about. It's the one-liners that are crazy zingers, or just his coked up looking fucking face. Like it's not the thing to write home about. This has a compelling story that is not formulaic, and it fits some of the absolute funniest bits you've ever seen in there. So, you know what though? If you're listening to these commercials, you should know that you do not have to. You can head on over to our Patreon, patreon.com/horrormovietalk, and toss us a couple of ducats. For the price of one cup of coffee a month, you can get early access to all the episodes without commercials. You can also vote on one movie a month for us to watch. Get access to the afterpod. You can also listen to pretentious reviews over there that you've never heard if you have only listened to the Horror Movie Talk public RSS feed. All that kind of cool stuff. So check it out. Also check out our horrormovietalk.com/shop. Buy yourself a t-shirt, buy yourself a coaster, buy yourself a sticker, put them all together, and sip some coffee out of your t-shirt that has a Horror Movie Talk sticker on it. Check out our resident artist, Dustin Goebel. He's a professional artist who is swamped to the gills. If you try to get a hold of him, you got to bother him incessantly, make his life a living hell for him to get back to you, because he's so talented that everybody wants him to work for them. And but he's too nice is his problem. So you can really take advantage of him over there at dgoebel00. That's at DGOEBEL00 on Instagram. Make your artistic dreams come true. Don't tell him we sent you, because if you do, he'll want to hunt us down and kill us. But he'll only be able to find one of us. I'll let you guess which one. Call us at 682-253-4468. Thanks again for listening, and let's get into the spoilers? I don't know how to do that. Okay. There's people sleep on a couple of things. Number one, young Tom Hanks. You don't remember how good young Tom Hanks was at comedy. Like, some of his shit is so fucking funny, it will make you go, oh, he's one of the greats at comedy. But you just don't think about him that way. You think about him, Forrest Gump, Apollo 13 or 11 or whatever the fuck it is. You think about, Captain Spaulding, all of those. But I gotta tell, Jeff Daniels is, I can't. Bryce, how does Jeff Daniels do this?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, he's, what other comedy stuff has he been in other than Dumb and Dumber? It stands out so much.
I know, and it's so singular. It kind of makes me wonder if it's just a lightning in the bottle, in a bottle sort of situation, because you don't see it a lot,
I think a lot of it is the the situation where it's not groundbreaking that the comedy comes from just someone being profoundly dumb. Like, that is kind of the ultimate premise of comedy, is just someone not getting it and being put into a situation. But yeah, I don't think that there's any straight ahead comedy that you point to Jeff Daniels for, but like, somehow it was just perfect, I
would say that in terms of, look, I don't, this may be bold. I don't think it is bold. I think Jeff Daniels is fucking funnier in this. His bits stick with me to a greater degree than Jim. Look, Jim sets him up like a fucking champ. This is the peak Jim. But in this movie, the Jeff Daniels moments stand out to me more.
I wouldn't agree with that. I think Jim Carrey is obviously better at comedy than Jeff Daniels, but the fact
in this
that
movie, like,
yeah, oh yeah, I think, like, and especially for me, Jim Carrey he's one of the best physical comedians ever.
Oh yeah.
But also just one of the best comedic actors as well. Like, it's kind of rare to be very, very good at physical comedy, but also like
be world class at just general comedy.
Right. So, like, and he gets it like completely, and it's, by the time Dumb and Dumber comes out, his instrument for physical comedy is so well tuned. It's interesting going back, watching In Living Color or his stand-up, and it's very, very broad, obviously, but just something slightly off, like the timing, or like the scale of it or something, the exaggeration where it's like
too much.
Yeah, it's not quite there, or he's relying too heavily on it. And I think what changes as he has gotten older, or like around this time, his acting chops like met a certain threshold to where he could pull off everything through his acting with the comedy, and then just use the physical comedy to accentuate it.
Yeah, it's
Pretty thick.
it is definitely a thick, girthy amount of comedy chops. But nevertheless, I will say Jeff Daniels' bits and the way he hangs is
it's
even
astounding. Yeah,
it's so much more impressive because you do know that Jim Carrey is legendary. Like, he's maybe the guy for comedy acting. Like, and then you got Jeff Daniels, who matches him, does not get stood up at all. Like, adds big amounts to this movie in delivery and in just. And I would be so interested, like, oh my God, remember that Man on the Moon? And then it came out with that documentary, Jim and Andy, about the making of the Man in the Moon. I would do anything to watch a documentary about the making of Dumb and Dumber, because I would love to see the process of if Jim is like really. I in my mind, I have it as like Jim is just kind of the director of Dumb and Dumber. Like, he gets the script, he understands it, and then he's like tweaking things as they go. And then a lot of it, and I think might be improv and stuff like that. Just astonishingly good, funny improv between Jeff and Jim. But I would love to see that.
Well, I mean, this is the other thing is like this was peak Jim Carrey, but it was also peak Farrelly Brothers. Like, Farrelly Brothers are, output in the 90s was legendary for comedy. Like, just great writing, great directing for comedy movies. I mean, so they had Dumb and Dumber, Something About Mary, was Kingpin. Me, Myself, and Irene is kind of where they started tapering off for me. But like, just those three, like that trifecta of Something About Mary, Dumb and Dumber, and Kingpin were like just great, crushing comedies. And this was kind of their peak for me. I mean, it's so much went well with it. And like rewatching it, it sounds dumb, but I really appreciate the depth of it too. Like, the characters of Lloyd and Harry, they're believably dumb, Yeah, like,
you've met the guy.
Yeah.
You've met these guys.
Yeah, because like the stuff where it's like, it's definitely a caricature, but it's not like a cartoon, to where there's moments of, they have some form of education, they just don't get it enough, just even like the references, like, where the women flock like the salmon of Capistrano, where it's like, it's more of like a malapropism than like an actual, even to like know what the reference is and to get it wrong is enough. And there's a moment in the beginning where, and they feel like real characters, because like in the beginning of the film when he's talking about dropping off Mary with Harry, Lloyd is expressing true like loneliness and like and like a yearning and like self-analyzing in a way that's like, no, this is a real person. There's these little glimpses of there's real people, but they're just super dumb, and that's what brings the entertainment, so there, to serve the comedy at moments, there's like moments of brilliance, or just they're not they're not handicapped. They're just really dumb. You know, it's like this whole time you've had 2 pairs of gloves.
Right.
I mean, we're in the Rockies.
Yeah, Harry, it's the Rocky Mountains.
It's like,
I'm gonna kill you. Yeah, no. Okay, so there's this thing that I'm pretty obsessed with, and I can't tell if the people that I'm sharing it with are just so irritated by it that they can't respond, or don't watch it because they don't respect and love me, or but I'll show you something, and I've shared this with you, and I love this is a guy you know. The concept of, you know this guy. You've met this guy. You don't like him, but okay, here we go. I'm going to share my screen. If you're not watching on YouTube, you should be, because this is going to get kind of cool, I got to tell you.
Nah, fool, I'm from Portland, dog. Straight up, dude. That's why I paint my fingernails black sometimes, dog. I'm different, huh? Hey, what up, Chris? I'm done drinking this. I'm just trying to get my deposit back, bro. Hey, pick that up. This place is a mess, dog. Chris, you ever worry about people coming up in here and asking for cigarettes, and then when you turn around to get them, they just like pull a heater out on you, just go bang, bang, straight up, you know? I hear it happens all the time to cashiers, so I smoke more, dude. All right, fool. Hey, good looking out, dog. Hey, you stay safe, fool. Straight up, dude. That's the homie, bro.
That's the homie, bro. You know this guy. You've met him. He's horrible. You hate everything about him. Mm-hmm. But this guy has captured the essence of that fella. I don't think he is, because he's too aware. But one more time. Let's just.
Nah, fool, I'm from Portland, dog. Straight up, dude. That's why I paint my fingernails black sometimes, dog. I'm different, huh? Hey, what up, Chris? I'm done drinking this. I'm just trying to get my deposit back, bro. Hey, pick that up, dude. This place is a mess, dog. Chris, you ever worry about people coming up in here and asking for cigarettes, and then when you turn around to get them, they just like pull a heater out on you, just go bang, bang, straight up, you know? I hear it happens all the time to cashiers, so I smoke more, dude. All right, fool. Hey, good looking out, dog. Hey, you stay safe, fool.
He's got the snake bite. Piercings on his lips. He just does not give a shit about anything. He's got no respect for you, your time. He just wants to talk and be heard. And but that's. Do you have you seen these that I send you? Mm-hmm. What do you think about them?
Well, I mean, I've seen those before you send them to me.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, I mean, it's that guy tapped into a very specific character. I mean, it's a great fodder for comedy, and that's one of the things that sometimes people on SNL get really good, is like they come up with like that person that you've met before, like the Target lady, Kristen Wiig's Target lady. What's her name? She just left, but there's a couple people that on SNL that do that really well, where it's like a very specific character that all you have to do is just set them up in front of a camera and just talk for a minute. And you're like, God damn it, I know. That's hilarious how well they pull that off. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I think, I'm assuming the point you're making here is like these characters are believable for what they are, and it's
yes, because you've met them. They are people you know and met and know right now. You know, like
I don't think I could say like this is either one of them are necessarily a type, but there's definitely moments that are indicative of pretty much anyone's dumbest moment. You know, just a profound, like, lifelong misunderstanding about something.
Dude, this just screams to me that Bryce has not worked construction. Like, this is a person, 100%. A lot of people, blue collar people, like not all blue collar people. Like, that should be a sticker for sure. But listen, I've met Harry and Lloyd 1,000 times. I know who they are. They're good people. They are who they are in this movie.
Right.
They're good people. They're just dumb. They're
Yeah.
just fucking dumb. Some of them are fucking sweet as puppies, and others are evil, horrible people. And others are just trying to muddle through life.
Yeah,
But
they're earnest and genuinely believe that they're good, and they're just misguided.
right.
The stuff
Believe
like
they're
when
smart.
they're like, no, listen, we'll just write IOUs. Our word is our bond.
Everything's accounted for.
Everything's accounted for. It's like everyone but them understands that there's no possible way that they can repay that money
Yeah.
in their lifetimes.
Yeah.
But they're very earnest about it, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it's the earnestness that sells it. It's the reason it all comes together because I mean, it could be what's it the character. Oh man, now I'm losing his name. It could be the Pest.
Mm.
It's not earnest. And it doesn't work because it's not a real person. It kind of is a real person, but it's like a bad caricature.
Yeah.
Whereas this is anyway. Let's get into this. So Lloyd drives Mary to the airport. He instantly falls in love with her, which every dude can
Right.
absolutely. I mean, it's kind of weird to say, but I fall in love with everybody. You know, like there's a moment where I love you. You know, whoever you are, and so that's super relatable. But it's because it's that Jim is so dumb that you're like, why are you going to the air? You know, he does all the things you would do if you fell in love with someone. He stumbles over his words, but he does it in spectacular fashion. You know, like, why are you going to the airport? Flying somewhere? And she's like, yeah, obviously. And he's like, He doesn't even know he's done it, but he's done it. He sprays Banaka outside. He never hits his mouth. You know, when he sprays the Banaka. By the way, do people still have mouth spray? Is that a thing?
I don't know. I think mint. I think like the mint strips. I don't know. I'm not even up to date on that because like it seems like they're overtaken by mint strips.
I think mouth.
And then I don't know what it is now.
Yeah, I think breath control has gone the way of the dodo. I think. It's
I
like
think we don't see each
gum or
other
nothing.
enough.
Yeah.
It's all over Zoom.
Yeah, that's what it is.
You don't need Banaka on Zoom. Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, the most if women want to understand what it's like to be a man, the one line that shows the mindset of men when it comes to meeting attractive women comes at the end of the film where he's like, so what are the chances? Like, girl like me and a guy like you. It's like, shoot, give it to me straight.
Is it 1 in 100? She's like, more like 1 in a million.
So you're saying there's a chance. Like that's the reason why men yell at women through a moving car, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because there's a chance, you know?
Yeah,
There-
maybe.
I think, there's when we fall in love with celebrities, like whenever I watch something with Jennifer Aniston, I'm like,
I was going to say this next. This was going to be the next thing I say. If you're
was
friends
like,
with
maybe
Bryce
there's-
Hanson, occasionally he will ping you and ask you, so do you think Jennifer Aniston and I will be a thing soon? Or do you think it's going to be in a couple of years? You know, like what?
yeah, I mean, what did I text you? I think I said,
Yeah.
do you think,
Let's look it up here.
oh yeah, I said, do you think Jennifer Aniston would like me?
And what did I say?
You said yes, and she would also like to have sex with you. And I said, oh good, oh goody,
Oh, goody.
because you know exactly where my mind's at. It's like literally,
And she would also Bryce, like to have sex with you. You.
Every
She would
woman
like it.
that we come across that we're like attracted to is like there's we enter the multiverse in our head where it's like, okay, in all of the possible
It's
worlds,
not you and me, by the way. You're not saying we. You're saying the globe of men.
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm trying to convey.
Of cis,
The globe of
nasty
men enter into the multiverse and are like, there are innumerable situations in which we can connect and I can be able to sleep with this woman and have like a meaningful relationship to convey how much I love her in this moment where I just glanced at her half a second ago. And we live in those moments for seconds each day.
Well, that's why a guy came up with the multidimensional theory, right?
Right.
Which is every timeline is happening at somewhere at some point in some in some universe, in some dimension, right?
Right.
So there's like literally infinite amounts of universes where Bryce is with Jennifer Aniston. Literally, right
Exactly.
now.
Right.
It's a scientific fact that Bryce Hansen and Jennifer Aniston are a thing in infinite universes and realities.
Right. Yeah.
Infinite.
Exactly.
You can't
saying
say
there's a chance.
a chance. No, it is a 100% probability that you're actually have your wiener inside Jennifer Aniston on like the face of a black hole somewhere out there, you know? Like in a 2-dimensional, like there's strings of code and like string theory all melding together, and Bryce Hansen's like, you know, with Jen Ann.
Yeah. Exactly.
Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah. What would be our moniker? What would the paparazzi give Bryce and Jennifer Aniston relationship? Brennifer.
Brennifer. Jice.
Jice.
Jice. Yeah. Jice. Wait. Jice. Jennifer Aniston. Jice Aniston.
Aniston's a go-to. But, like, yeah. Brennifer.
Jice Ham.
Okay.
We're like,
on.
we're Jiced Ham.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm racking my brain. I'm trying to remember the one, like, small moment that happens. It's just a throwaway line and just, I can't remember it, but there's all these little throwaway lines, in the movie that it's just impressive how well the comedy is stacked onto itself over and over again, through the movie. And I mean, we could just, we could go through each moment that like stands out as being funny, but then we would just basically tell you what the entire movie is.
Yeah.
What is your favorite? Like, what's your favorite, like, big set piece of, like, this is the obvious iconic scene, but also what's your favorite small moment?
The, quote, set piece or scenario, it's so hard to, I truly, truly, truly love the moment when they're at the burger bar and they've put the hot peppers in in Mike Starr's in Joe May when he falls backward on the floor and he's lying there like gasping, like he's clearly hurt, like he's
obviously dying in that moment.
On the floor, and Jim Carrey whips around with this big exaggerated hand and goes, ha! He's pointing it at his face and just screaming with laughter. And he's literally dying on the floor. And it's like that big exaggerated turning point kills me. And just that makes me cry with laughter. I mean, the whole start where the sweet old lady on a motorized scooter, I got taken by a sweet old lady on a motorized scooter. Didn't even see it coming. Like, it kills me. It's just like, obviously the toilet. The toilet is, I mean, it's there with, with things in the mirror are closer than they actually appear in Jurassic Park. Like that Jeff Daniels moment, where he's on the toilet is it's crushing. What about you? What are the ones that stick with you? I mean, but every moment in this, you're like, God damn, like I say thanks, it's a cardigan, but thanks for noticing. Like the Harlan Williams cop pullover scene kills me too. Like it's all great.
I think on this viewing, like, I think my favorite big set piece is the skiing date, like that. I mean, he gets the tongue stuck to the chairlift, and then the shift in going from having a good time to Harry being deadly serious about this snowball fight.
Yeah, is
so funny to me.
It's entirely sixth grade. It's exactly how a snowball fight goes.
Right, and that I think that set piece at the toilet, of course, like. And then the small moment, I mean, there's so many good ones. And my favorite small moment, is when Harry attacks Lloyd for not giving him the gloves, Harry attacks Lloyd, and Lloyd just goes, Harry! Your hands are freezing. That is the funniest line in the world for me, of just in the moment of being like actively murdered. And he's like, man, your hands are freezing.
I really, that's crushes. I really love the moment where they're in all the moments with Joe Mentalino in the car or with him at all are glorious. Like when they're in the car and Lloyd starts singing Mockingbird, mock, yeah, ing, yeah, bird, yeah, yeah. And then Joe can't handle it. He's about to kill them right then and there. Like the movie's about to end. Mm-hmm. And they see on the side of the road, oh, there's some hitchhikers. Pick them up. And then the next scene is Joe just being like, I'm going to kill myself with a whole family, a whole Mexican family in the car. Mock, see, ing, see, bird. Like it's just crushingly funny.
Right. Yeah. I remember, I just looked this up. Roger Ebert, like, what, in his review of this, I looked at this and he only gave it 2 stars, which is astounding to me, especially given this paragraph, the opening paragraph. When he wrote about it, he said, the purpose of a comedy is to make you laugh, and there is a moment in Dumb and Dumber that made me laugh so loudly I embarrassed myself. I just couldn't stop. It's the moment involving the kid who gets the parakeet.
Yeah.
But because I know that the first sentence of this review is likely to be lifted out and reprinted, I hasten to add that I did not laugh as loudly again or as often. Whatever, Roger Ebert.
Oh, I didn't do it again? Oh, really? You mean when you've heard the joke, it wasn't as funny a second time? Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I mean, like, just the level of commitment to the dumbness in this movie is great, you know? And it works as like a universal. Like it's weird when you look back at like, okay, what works over time and what doesn't get dated. And I don't think Dumb and Dumber gets dated at all, because what it really lands on is dumb people are funny.
Yeah. I mean,
misunderstandings are funny, and
Steve
physical
Martin-
comedy is universal.
yeah, no,
you know?
Steve Martin made an entire career off of this.
Right.
This is, yeah, they took Steve Martin's whole premise, his whole career, and yeah, and there are elements of this movie that are tremendously dating. The number one that sticks out to me is the soundtrack. It's extremely 1994 and 95.
Yeah, I don't know though. I mean, like, it's so particular. I attach all the music specifically to this movie, to where it's like, it's got a unique soundtrack, and I can't say it's like, oh, it's because it's in the 90s. It feels just Dumb and Dumber, because I mean, it's not like tied to 90s music. Like,
it's tied to Cool Runnings was just a huge movie. Like, it's got that like poppy sort of Jamaican flair to the whole thing.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't date it for me. Like, it's like, I think it stands on its own. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I have such a big appreciation for physical comedy now, to where it's like, this is the stuff that doesn't age at all. Like, you can watch Charlie Chaplin or, you know, what's his name? You know, Harold Lloyd, or the other guy. I can't remember. Any of those silent movies, and they all work because of the physical comedy. Like, that's all you need, and they're as entertaining as anything you can watch now. You know,
there's that moment. I mean, speaking of physical comedy, like, there's that moment where Harry is trying to get the number from the lady at the gas station, and he has gas all over his feet, and his leg lights on fire, and he's standing there, and she's like, you know, she's just making small talk, and he's like, "Would you just give me the number?" And she's like, "Oh, well, if you're gonna get snippy, I'm just leaving." Like, it crushed me. I was just
right.
like, I could not stop laughing. Or, hey guys, big gulps, huh? Well, see you later. Like, just all it takes, like, that's not necessary. It is physical because of that beat that he gives it. Like, it's that knowing that you wait a good more than 2 Mississippi. Like, it's great. Yeah, it's...
Yeah. I will say, like, about the ending, you said that it kind of drags at the end, the last 30 minutes, and, like, there's a certain amount of that where it's like, okay, you have to actually wrap up the plot, and so there has to be some housekeeping that happens. But I gotta say, like, for me, it doesn't let up. There's still some great lines and scenes in the last couple minutes of the movie. I mean, the interaction between...
The tail end of this is great, but the action portion is where it tends to lose me, because that's where they all go. That's the formulaic part of the thing to me, and it bothers me a little bit. But I mean, it's one of the best there is still, because it is.
What do you mean? What action?
Oh, you know, the custody, or they got them all tied up on the beds, and yeah, I mean, just leading into that, the culmination of, you know, the end, basically.
Right. But even that, it's like the argument where it's like, no, shoot me first. No, shoot me first. Okay, kill him.
Kill him.
Like, and then what if they shot you in the face?
What if they shot me in the face?
That was a risk we were willing to take.
Yeah.
And then finally, like, the epilogue, the cap of that, just like, mwah,
yeah,
just
no, that
puts it on as the tropic Hawaiian tropic tour bus.
Yeah,
like,
with the bikini models that are looking for some oil boys.
For an oil boy.
Yeah. And dude, I'm not joking you. That's such a, I mean, that could be its own, like, that's its own Kids in the Hall sketch. Like, that could encapsulate kind of the premise of the whole movie just pretty easily right there, right? It's a really strong way to end because it is. I mean, if you're a cis male, God forbid, then this actually hurts. Like, this is hard to watch, this last moment where they're like, where they've literally struck gold. There's all these supermodels like giving them the eyes and basically being like, can you come on this bus and just have fun with us for an indeterminate amount of time? And then they turn it down and your balls just hurt. You're just like, ugh. Why didn't they do it? That's so upsetting that it perfectly encapsulates how dumb they are.
Yeah. And I mean, that's like the final point of like, man, someday we're going to get ours,
Just got to keep our eyes out.
Like, man, two lucky guys are going to be touring the U.S. with those girls. Like, man, some guys get all the breaks. Someday our chance will come,
Wait a minute. Oh, no. Oh, and then they run after them, and you're like, oh, thank God. Thank God. They're going to amend the problem. And they go, my buddy, he's so stupid. He's just space brain out here. The town is back that way. And you're like, no. Like, it's this final kick to the nuts where you're just like, well, you could have. Oh. Yeah, it's sad. It's a sad ending. I'm not going to lie to you.
Anyways.
I will say, Lauren Holly, who plays Mary, the beautiful redhead, is still gorgeous, but just a different looking person altogether. Like, I don't know if it's that she's had work done, but she looks completely different to me. Like, she does not look the way that I would think Lauren Holly would look old if it were me in 1994 or 5 watching this, being like, she's going to look this way when she gets older, but she's still absolutely stunning.
I mean, from her IMDb, she looks like the same. It just looks like she's older. Like, it's the same thing with like when we watched Wayne's World. Like, to me, Lara Flynn Boyle was unrecognizable in Wayne's World. And it's just losing the baby fat in the face. Like, there's less, plumpness in the cheeks. And then, that's kind of what I'm seeing with her, which is
I disagree.
Normal.
Yeah, totally disagree. I think you're very wrong.
Okay.
Well, look, if we're going to play that game, let's play it. Like, I mean, it's just I can't tell if it's work. I think it might be work. You could be right, but I don't know. Anyway, who would like this, Bryce? Who would you recommend Dumb and Dumber to?
I mean, it's like universal.
Would your mom laugh at this, or would she be disappointed?
Absolutely, yeah. My mom would love Dumb and Dumber.
Our pets' heads are falling off.
I mean, it gets a little, like, it touches on a little bit of raunchiness or a little bit of like gross humor, but it's so momentary, and in general, this is such a general audience's comedy,
Yeah.
that I wouldn't shy from. I mean, I think I've showed this movie to Penny. Wow.
Are you serious? How old's
Yeah.
Penny now? I guess I don't know how old she is.
Penny's 10.
Oh.
So, I mean, what's it rated? It's
It's gotta be
PG-13.
R.
No, it's PG-13.
No way. How
There's
about
no
that?
like swearing or nudity or extreme violence in it. It's just, I mean, the worst thing is he shits in a toilet.
No, the worst thing is he sells a dead bird without a head to a little blind boy. That's the worst thing. I remember seeing this as a kid and that being so dark for me that I just couldn't, like, I don't think I could continue. Like, I was like, that poor little boy. Like, it hurt my soul because, number one, the little bird was dead, and that hurt a lot. And then number two, the poor little boy. Like, it's funny now, I guess. it still smacks a little bit for me of a little too much. Like it's just too dark, but you know, it's hilarious for sure. It's the premise is.
See, I don't look at Dumb and Dumber and it being dark never enters an into me. Like I would never use that adjective to describe Dumb and Dumber. It's like it's so light and breezy to me.
Yeah. What about the concept I just described, where your bird has been murdered by its head being pulled off, and then in order to make money to go on a road trip, you tape its head back onto its body and then sell it to a blind child. There's no part of that says dark to you?
Sure. I mean, that's a little dark humor, but that's like, it's not like Dead Baby dark. It's like a
dead bird.
Con man dark. You know, it's like, it's when you find like someone, if you see like a con man movie where it's like, ha, you got one off on him. But if you sit and think about it, it's like, oh, that he actually harmed that person. And that's not good in society to trick people for your own game. It's like, I think it's
fair for it to hit me as dark. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I'm not saying that it shouldn't hit you as dark. I'm saying it doesn't hit me as dark.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, no, it always it always kind of did that to me, and it always made me feel real bad, like, and I just so vividly remember that, like pulling back and being like, and having like, did you ever read Watership Down, or did you just watch it?
No, neither.
Did you watch it?
No.
Oh, okay. There's
I've seen
moments
clips from it. Yeah.
There's moments in it that are so crushing that it just makes the rest of it hard to get through. And as a kid watching that, it just put my head in a spot, and I haven't been able to shake that spot ever since. You know what I mean? Anyway.
Yeah.
No, but I would definitely agree with you. I think this is maybe the very best comedy ever made. I can't think of a comedy that I would point to other than Wayne's World and say, in terms of laughs, this is the best. I mean, Robin Hood Men in Tights kind of is pretty close for me. It achieves the zany, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Dumb and Dumber, Airplane, Spinal Tap, like most of the Monty Python movies, are like just up there. But in terms of like, I'll admit though, in terms of like laughs and laughs per minute, like it's almost unfair, but those Jackass movies are the funniest fucking movies in the world.
No, I think you're absolutely right on that. It's not fair though.
Yeah. Borat's up there too. I mean, like Sacha Baron Cohen is really up there too, but it's not as distilled as Jackass, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the funny thing about Jackass is
physical comedy.
Those guys are Harry and Lloyd. Like literally, they're just dumb guys, just that have figured out a way to monetize how dumb they are and how willing to cause themselves harm.
Yeah.
They are, you know.
It's very true. Okay. Well, now we have our interview with Aaron London. All right. Today we have a very special guest on the show. We have Aaron London, who is the writer-director of the new horror movie Don't Let Me Stay, available for rent or purchase on Amazon right now. Aaron is also a longtime listener of the show, and we are just so happy to have him. Welcome, Aaron.
Well, thank you. Yes. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been digging into Don't Let Me Stay, and it's I got to say, it's got me intrigued. I was wondering kind of Well, actually, my first question to everybody has to be, what are your favorite horror movies?
Ooh,
And you can list as many as you like.
okay. Ooh, okay. I mean, I grew up a big fan of the slashers, so I mean Halloween, Jason, Freddy. Slashers always hold a space in my heart. Even the Leprechaun movies or the Chucky movies, even the comedy ones are super good. Um, and then like just I mean Insidious, The Grudge, The Ring, like all the classics that you grow up that aren't like great regular movies. Like it doesn't have this super fascinating storylines, but I mean it just does the horror really good. I mean I think probably very top is either The Grudge or something by Stephen King. Either the It, Secret Windows, something like that would probably be at the very top for
Which It?
me. Oof. Do you mean like the original or the remake or part one, part two? Yes. Okay. I think they're
Or either one. You could choose part 1 or part 2 as well for either one of them.
okay. Okay. I think it goes. I think it goes original part one, then part two. To me personally, I have to hold the original one. I saw the original one when I was like 5 years old. It gave me nightmares for like 3 straight weeks.
Yeah. Your original answer to the question of what your favorite horror movies are when you went down the list, I was like, that was my key to be like, oh, he's as old as I am. Insidious, The Ring, The Grudge. I was like, oh yeah, that was my teenage excited about horror moment as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and that little kid hitting the It at just the wrong
Just the
time.
wrong time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that miniseries, man. I mean, it doesn't age super well, but honestly, the part that doesn't age well is the second part.
Right.
Like the first part holds up
I agree.
really well. Like those kids, there's some like really good child actors in that one, and then it kind of suffers in part 2, but that's true of the remake too. Like part 2 isn't as interesting as seeing little kids in danger. We just love seeing little kids in harm's way.
Yeah, as does Stephen King.
Exactly. It feels like the kid part.
Stephen King likes kids in danger and weird sex shit.
That is true.
He's a big fan of weird sex stuff.
Okay, so with your taste, now that we have your taste, I got to ask, what drove you to make Don't Let Me Stay? This is your first full feature-length film, right?
First feature. I don't know. I just watch a lot of horror movies, and so I started screenwriting when I was like 17. I saw this indie film called Cry Wolf. Cry Wolf. I think it came out maybe in like 2006. I could be wrong. And that was the first time I saw a movie, and I was like, you know what? I could do this. Like this is really good. I feel like I can do it as well. And so like I just like I always like wrote short stories, and like I would read them to my friends and stuff like that. I used to do like mini stand-ups when I was in middle school, to where I would just write stuff and I'll do it to like a small audience. So I was like, I always knew like I could storytell to a degree, but I was like, you know what? I think I could write like horror films or thrillers. After I saw that, and so I just watched so many, and so I was writing horror shorts at first, just like little stuff around, and then, especially when like the pandemic hit, I was like, okay, I want to write a bunch of like horror shorts, and so, but like weird ones, you know what I mean, like Midsummer, like like ones that will catch your attention, and like, and so, yeah, we had this location. It's this Victorian house, and I was at first it was going to be a murder mystery. I was like, maybe I'll write a murder mystery, something, you know, and then it'll be a twist and this and this and this, and then just while I was writing it, I was like, nah, it has to, because I was watching The Haunting of Hill House, which is an amazing show, and I was like, no, it has to be a haunted house, and so that's when Don't Let Me Stay was born.
Awesome.
Okay, so you were watching The Haunting of Hill House as you were kind of getting this thing off the ground, getting it legs. Did you have any other inspirations while you were writing this?
Yeah, of course. So like I said, I wanted to do a murder mystery, so when I was watching that, I wasn't thinking like, oh, I'm gonna do a haunted house. I just was like, oh, let me watch some good stuff. But like Jordan Peele came out with Get Out and Us and all that, and I was like, you know what? There's a way to horror, like a different direction we can come at horror, and so that also inspired me. I always thought like, okay, you always had horror films in the back of my mind, like ever since like Jordan Peele's a big inspiration. So it always is like, all right, how can I do it in a unique way? Sometimes I have shots in my head, um, and so it kind of pushed me to kind of do the film. Like, all right, once I have a good idea, we're gonna do it, and so that's what the only thing.
Nice. So, like, how long did it take you from like script writing? Because it seems like a kind of a short time frame.
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking about like, being inspired. Well, I guess Haunting of Hill House.
A few years back.
That recent,
Yeah.
but I mean, how long did it take you from like coming up with the idea to writing to getting it actually like up on Amazon?
Maybe like a.
Well, I guess maybe end of production, not that.
Okay,
that
yeah,
might be
because I was about
separate,
to say
but,
that was like a 3 year process, maybe like 2.5 year process. Yeah, it's usually a process that goes on. So it's like it took like from like start of script writing to like the beginning of shooting was about 8 months. So I wrote the script, then we did pre-production, and then we started shooting. The shooting was about a month and a half, give or take, about 20, 25 shooting days, 20, 25 shooting days, don't quote me. And um, so we ended filming, I believe at the end of 2021. Yeah.
What's it? This was done on a micro budget, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And what's it like making a movie on that kind of super tight budget? Were there any challenges? What did you face? Like what was the shit?
Yeah. I mean, I'm grateful at the time. I knew people who like had equipment. I knew like filmmakers. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like I was just going there as the only filmmaker. Like producers, crew, all that like had their own thing. Like they were already doing their own film stuff. They probably had way more knowledge than I did, working on the project. So it was like a joint community effort as well. And so that made me feel a lot better. But yeah, I mean, you just learn how to kind of adapt. I kind of wrote a script with a budget in mind, right? You kind of do that. Like, you don't always have to, but sometimes if you have like an idea like that, like, all right, what can I write in here to save cost in like when we're shooting? And so, I did write somewhat of a friendly budget script, which was good. But yeah, like, I mean, you just praying that nothing goes wrong, and you have to pay like use extra,
right?
Of the budget,
How's that
or
work out?
like you like hopefully everything goes smooth. We can get in and out.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, so I'm assuming it's basically like a single location in the house. I haven't watched it. I have to commend anyone whose first film doesn't take place in a state park. That's like, it seems like every like budget horror movie is like, and then they're outside for an indeterminate amount of time in the woods because that's where you can shoot easily. So yeah, anyone that like figures out how to have a location in their film that isn't, obviously like their apartment or the woods, that's impressive.
And I had a little bit of practice of like minimum locations. Because like I said, I was doing like shorts during the pandemic. I was writing shorts, and so I was just like, we can't go very. So it's like, all right, how can I keep it in just a few locations? Like,
I mean, it's a huge skill too. I mean, to think of that as a creator of like, especially if you want to get involved in Hollywood, showing like knowledge of this is what actually costs money. This is where you can make compromises, and one of them is like if you write a single location like cheaply filmed script, you have a lot higher chance of getting it made
100%.
than if you're like, all right, so it's gonna be like Mission Impossible but starring me.
Yes.
So
or even like writing more flexibilities into the script in general with props and everything. Then you left it open. It's not like you're super determined on one thing, and it's like, oh, we got to get this and it's that. Kind of leaving it open a little bit. Yes, for sure. Advice that I would give.
So what did the budget end up being for it? I mean, I think the estimated budget on IMDb is like 30,000, but I'm curious if that's true.
Around there. I mean, there's some stuff that obviously it comes out of pocket that you don't put down on the budget. You know what I mean? Because it's just in a time like, or if you're on set and you're going over budget, you just go and get it. Sometimes you don't like write it down. Oh, we need this prop. Let's just go get the prop. And we don't really put down what it's all around there. I always say like around 30,000. Yeah. And sometimes people, do stuff, past their pay grade, how much they're getting paid. They just do extra work because they want the film to do well. And so that doesn't come up in the pay either. So around that.
That's cool. I mean, it's so crazy to be like, oh, this is a micro budget, but it also costs $30,000. I don't have $30,000 just sitting around,
laying around.
And it's a weird feeling once you get like a budget like that, and then it goes into the film because you're like, yeah, this is a micro budget, but it's like if things go wrong, I can't just pay this back like out of my pocket and be like, oh yeah, here's your 30,000 back because the film didn't work out.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so this is a good transition because debt is pretty scary to me, right? But my question to you is it hard to make something scary?
Ooh.
Because, like, first of all, you got what's scary to you, and you listed some of your inspirations, some of the shit that, it hit you is really scary. But what's it like on the other end of that, making something scary? Like, how do you do that?
It starts in the script, right? It starts like read scary. So sometimes you'll write something and you'll read it yourself, or somebody will read it and it'll make them jump back a little bit, and then you're like, okay. So then, like, if it reads scary, then it's a little bit easier to translate it onto the screen, right? And then music does like 50% of it. I mean, you could make almost anything into a jump scare, or you could, you know what I mean, or you can build up suspense just by having the music go up. So music is like a big help too. So it's not as, like I said, if you have like the vision when you're writing it, then it's not as hard. Like if you know in your head what is going to be scary, if you know how it looks. Sometimes people don't write with like the visuals in mind, but I like to write with specific shots in my mind. And once I know, like, all right, that will be scary if we made it like that, then it's just a good thing.
What's been the most rewarding part of, making this thing, thinking of this thing, making it, and then getting it out there? Like, what's been the part that's brought you the most joy in Don't Let Me Stay?
Definitely the getting it out there part, because it took like 2.5 years. And when you go in, you don't really like understand how long projects take. I mean, it goes through waves and hands, and it's passed around, and then this person's job, then it's passed around there, and this, you know what I mean? And so you almost take like a break, and then when it comes out, it's almost like a time capsule. You're like, oh wow, like I did shoot that. But yeah, it's probably just having everybody being able to see it. I mean, the filming process is fun. It's not always going to be fun. It's still work. You know what I mean? Still long hours. I mean, our average shooting hours between like 10 hours, and because we had 16-hour filming days on the bigger scenes and stuff, because you just got to get all your shots done and everything. So there's times where it doesn't get fun, and you're like, all right, let's just get through this scene. And so, but when it comes out, and just seeing like even the joy from the cast and the crew, right? Like you're just going around, everybody gets to see themselves, and and uh, the audio guy gets to watch it and see his work, and the DPs get to watch and see their work, and then it's like it's a very much a collective, collaborative effort. I'm just a writer and director, and you sit back and realize there's so many pieces. I mean, so many people are involved, so many pieces are factors that make it what it is. So um, that's probably the rewarding part, not just for myself to see everybody else get to see their product.
So, were there any like huge, um, just hurdles or problems that came up during production to where you're like, I got to figure out how to solve this right now, and like, what was when you watch it? What are the things where you're like, that didn't go how I expected, but I pulled it off somehow.
I can tell you just asked the right question, just watching them react.
Wow. What didn't go wrong? So the start off, and this is what I meant about the budget, so to start off, first day of shooting, right? We go through rehearsal and everything. The cast comes together. We're ready to go. Nerves are happening, right? You always get that first day nerves where it's like, all right, we're about to do this now, start a project, and our camera breaks. Our camera goes down. We took a couple of shots and it goes down. Boom. And we get a guy to come in, the guy to
So
fix
is that important to have a working camera?
a little bit. And so we had the mechanic comes in and he can't fix it. So we're like, oh, wow. So then I have to dismiss the cast for the day and say, hey, we're not gonna be able to shoot, but we don't know if we're gonna be able to shoot at all. If we're gonna have to push the whole production back, it's because we got to find the camera because we got lenses, so we got to find a specific camera that the lenses go to. It's not like we could just go and get any camera. And so, luckily, we was able to rent a camera from a filmmaker from a couple of cities down the block. He had the exact same camera we were using, and we were able to come. He was like, "Yeah, I'll rent you our camera out and use it for the rest of the shooting." So, good thing we had a little bit extra in the budget, and we were able to use that to rent a camera. Yeah.
What was the camera that you were using?
I don't know by heart. My DP will probably know more.
Was it digital or film?
It was digital. I don't know off the top of my head. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Okay. So I get this all the time. So like before this interview with you, I get this. This feeling. You were saying like that first day you got the jitters. You want things to work out. You're not sure what kind of shit is gonna come. You're like, well, I get that like each time before we talk to a new guest. Like I'm like, I want this to go well. Like I want it to be a good product and yada yada. And what happens to me is my butt goes and that is the way my body responds to the nerves, right? Is I'm like, whoa, okay. So you're gonna have to go back to that day of like, how does it hit you? Is it butterflies? Is it, you know what I mean? You're like, when you got all these people who you got to tell like, the camera doesn't work. Like, and they're like, what the fuck? Like, what's the feeling you got? Like, what's your visceral response? Because this is the real horror in horror.
So, because I already have butterflies because it's like I'm the director of this film. It's about to start. Like, go down. You know what I mean? Like, so I already have butterflies in that. And so at first it's like denial, right? So we're like, what? No. Did you turn it on? Okay. You turn it on one more time. Plug it back in. You're doing that. Like, then we bring the mechanic guy in, and we're like, oh, he's gonna come and he's gonna fix it 100%. You know what I mean? Like, oh, so but then they look at us and they're like, and they were like, oh, did we turn it on? Can you try to turn it on again? And and then and so it's like denial for a bit, and then I come out there and I gotta talk to the cast and everybody's green eye, and then that's when it's like it drops in my stomach to where it's like I gotta keep it together because the director, and it's like, but inside I'm like, oh my god, like what the hell, like, and then I dismiss the cast, and then it's like we're just the whole crew just be it's like silent. We're just like all like, okay, we have to think of what to do next. And so we're just sitting there silent, thinking, trying to figure out a way, and it's like nobody wants to speak, nobody wants to comment on the situation, nobody wants to. We want to act like it's not even happening a little bit, like we're just taking a long break, like a lunch. But it's real. It's definitely very real.
Oh, dude, that's okay. I love. Oh man, yeah. No, that shit. That like that feeling of coming into a situation where there's a problem, and then being and then like that moment where you realize there's a real problem. That's that's the scariest thing there is. But being able to like push through that and get the thing done, there's nothing more rewarding, I don't think.
Yeah.
Like it must feel great to have this thing done and fucking on Amazon Prime, dude. Like what's that like?
Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. I don't know. It feels like a lot of things. It feels like a dream come true. It feels like I don't, but it's also your art, right? So you kind of feel nervous for people to watch it because then it's like, oh, somebody in Thailand might be watching it right now, and I'm not sitting next to them and be like, what do you think? Like, or you know what I mean? Like, or to explain like, oh, this and this and that, you know. So it's like you feel very vulnerable, but like in a good way. Like I want people to watch it, and I want people to tell me if they like it, if they dislike it, if you know, it made them laugh, if it's something, if there's a scene that they'll remember when they leave, if, you know, I just wanted people to watch it from the jump. Like that was my only goal. I mean, like I said, it was about 2.5 year process. I was like, I'm just ready. I'm just ready for people to watch it. You know, it's not a perfect movie. It's my first feature film, but I feel like we put a lot of time and effort into it, and we feel like it can entertain it. You know, entertain people for a bit.
Yeah. So, how hard was it to get it on Amazon? Because I seem to remember like it used to be really easy for independent filmmakers to get stuff on Amazon Prime, and then they changed some policies or changed like visibility for independent filmmakers. Like,
Yeah.
what was that process for you?
Um, well, we had a distribution team. So they did most of that work of getting it to Amazon. I don't really know the specifics. You know, people usually ask me. I don't know the specifics. I was mainly just in charge of making the film.
Right.
You know.
Okay.
um,
So how do you know how it's been doing since you released it? When was the release date? I know it's been pretty. I can't remember when you sent it on Instagram, but
It was about a month ago, I think.
yeah, April 3rd, I believe. April 3rd was when it came out. Yeah.
so how's it been going with it on Amazon? Do you know any numbers or anything, or are you happy with how it's going?
Yeah, so far, I mean, so far, if you look at it, it has a 5 out of 5 star rating from everybody who's rated it. So that's dope. That's cool. Um, we had like a little showing because I'm in LA. That's where I live, and so we had a showing out here in LA. Um, and you know, I got to sit with an audience. I sat in the back though. I was like, please, nobody look at me, right? I just like I was just like, or I didn't want to make people feel like I was looking at them. You know what I mean? Like super intent. Like, oh, do you like it?
You should have brought a folding chair up to the front and turned it to face the audience,
right.
and then just crossed your arms.
That said director on the back, right? Like,
Yeah, and then be like, so what do you think? Like halfway through the movie, say, stop, wait, you know, like, what do you think?
They're not having the reaction. Just stand up and start pacing the floor in front of them. Just like
And then the director paced in front of the screen while the movie was... No, man, I've been watching this
wildly
thing.
gesticulating towards the screen. It's like, can you not see this?
rewind.
I've been watching this thing this morning. I'm about halfway through. I got to tell you, it reminds me a lot. I get a lot of... if I had to... I mean, it's its own thing. But it's definitely given me like Get Out vibes. It's kind of got this slow burn feel. You're taking your time with getting the characters, introducing them, and giving them kind of a rich backstory and like why everything's going. It's giving me Get Out vibes, and I'm digging it. So I'm gonna finish this thing after the interview. Don't Let Me Stay. It's available on Amazon right now. Aaron, thank you so much for coming on the show. Do you have any socials that you can plug?
Yeah, so everybody can find me at Aaron London T on Instagram. You can also follow the Don't Let Me Stay Instagram as well. You can also follow me on TikTok at Aaron London T as well. You can also follow the Don't Let Me Stay TikTok as well. And we also have a Reddit page, Don't Let Me Stay, and that is the DLMS film for everything on the Don't Let Me Stay for Instagram, TikTok, and Reddit. Yeah.
Fabulous. Aaron, you got anything you want to say before you go?
Look, if you're just sitting on a Sunday or Saturday night and you're like, you know what? I'm scrolling through all these films. I don't know what to watch. You just want something that's gonna take you on a journey, that's gonna get you attached to some of the characters. It's gonna have you being like, what is going on next? Then turn on this film. You know, it's just a very heartwarming film, which is weird to say for a horror film, but you can just feel, you know, the passion that we put into it. And it's not a perfect film with all these, you know, special effects and everything, but you know, it's a little piece of sunshine, you know, something to give homage to the horror genre that's done so much to me for me. Yeah.
Aaron London, thank you so much for coming on the show. We'd love to have you back sometime soon and talk about what you're doing next.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. We'll keep in touch.
All right.
All right.
And we're back.
That was great.
Dude, thank you so much to Aaron London, creator of Don't Let Me Stay. Check it out over there on Amazon. You know what to do. You know how to do it. I think it's only $1 to rent, so worth your time. Go check it out. Give it a rating. Let him know what you think about it, and don't be stingy on those ratings.
Don't be stingy, Mark.
Yeah, don't be stingy, Mark. Head on over to our Spotify or our Apple podcast and toss us a couple of stars. We take 5 mostly, is just how many we like to take. So toss us those 5 stars over there. Watch us on YouTube, rate us, review us, yada, yada, boyada. We appreciate everyone for making this transition with us into Horror Movie Talk Plus territory. I'm real excited to get to cover movies outside of the horror genre, but also to get to continue to review horror movies. So check us out, horrormovietalk.com. Support us on patreon.com/horrormovietalk. And, share it with a friend, because that's how we grow. And the best way to share it with a friend is, like I said, do those reviews. Call us at 682-253-4468. We love you with all of our hearts. So we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Good day, sir. Good day, sir. You lose. You get nothing.
Is that the raincoat? Yes, it is.
I just had to stroll through the scraggly woods.
He had no face.
Horror!
Wow, that didn't sound good.